The chandelier above the grand ballroom of Elena Whitmore's penthouse glowed like a frowning constellation, reflecting off marble floors polished enough to mirror the skyline of Manhattan below. It was the kind of place where silence itself felt expensive. The city's most powerful executives, investors, and artists mingled under the soft hum of classical music, holding crystal glasses as if they were extensions of their status. At the center of it all stood Elena Whitmore, the brilliant and intimidating CEO of Whitmore Global. She was known for building billion-dollar empires before most people finished college. But tonight, she looked strangely restless. Her dark eyes kept drifting toward the grand piano, placed beside the panoramic window. "Music," she said suddenly, loud enough for the nearby guests to hear, "is the only thing that can still surprise me." Someone laughed politely, assuming it was another philosophical remark from the famous CEO. Elena turned toward the piano, tapping a manicured finger against the polished lid. "Tell you what," she said with a playful but challenging smile, "if someone here can play Chopin well enough to move me, I might just marry them." The room erupted with amused laughter. Everyone thought it was a joke. After all, Elena Whitmore dating anyone outside the billionaire elite sounded like a fairy tale told backward. But standing near the far wall, unnoticed beside a silver cleaning cart, was a man in a simple Navy janitor's uniform. His name was Alexander Hale. Most people in the building barely registered his presence. He was the quiet man who cleaned offices after midnight and nodded politely in elevators. Yet when Elena's words floated through the room, Alexander's hands paused mid-motion while wiping a glass table. His expression changed just slightly, like someone who uttered a distant melody only they recognized. A few guests, emboldened by champagne, dared to sit at the piano. One attempted a clumsy version of Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major, stumbling through the notes while people politely clapped. Elena's smile never reached her eyes. Another guest tried a dramatic flourish of Chopin's Revolutionary Etude but quit halfway through, laughing at himself. The CEO sighed softly. "See," she murmured, "talent is rarer than money." Then something unexpected happened. The janitor stepped forward. At first, nobody noticed, but the soft squeak of his car wheels against the marble drew a few curious glances. Alexander parked the cart beside the wall and walked toward the piano with calm, steady steps. Conversations died down as people realized what was happening. A janitor approaching the centerpiece of a billionaire's party. One of the investors whispered sarcastically, "This should be good." Alexander stopped a few feet from Elena and spoke in a quiet, respectful tone. "Miss Whitmore, did you mean that? About Chopin?" The room burst into chuckles again, but Elena raised an eyebrow. Instead of mocking him, she studied his face carefully. There was something in his calm gaze that didn't match the uniform he wore. "Yes," she replied slowly, "I meant it, at least the part about being moved." Alexander nodded once, then Saturday at the piano bench. His hands hovered over the keys for a moment, as if greeting an old friend. The first note that followed was so soft, it felt like a secret whispered into the room. Then the melody bloomed, Chopin's Nocturne in C-sharp minor. It wasn't just correct, it was breathtaking. Each note carried a quiet ache, like moonlight spilling across a lake at midnight. Conversations frowned, glasses stopped halfway to lips. Elena's playful expression vanished entirely. Alexander wasn't merely playing the piano, was telling a story through it. The melody rose and fell like memories unfolding in real time. Loss, hope, longing, resilience. By the time he reached the final passage, the entire ballroom had fallen into reverent silence. When the last note faded, nobody clapped. They couldn't. The moment felt too fragile to break. Elena's voice, when it finally came, was barely above a whisper. "Where did you learn to play like that?" Alexander stood up slowly, meeting her gaze with a quiet smile. "Before life changed," he said simply. That answer only deepened the mystery. The CEO, who rarely showed emotion, looked genuinely shaken. Her eyes searched his face, as if trying to solve a puzzle she hadn't expected tonight. The room buzzed with whispers after the music ended, but Elena barely heard them. Her attention remained locked on Alexander. "You're not just a janitor," she said softly, stepping closer. The faint scent of jasmine perfume surrounded her, but Alexander didn't look intimidated. Instead, he gave a small, almost amused smile. "Right now," he replied, "that's exactly what I am." Elena folded her arms, curiosity blazing in her eyes. People don't play Chopin like that without years of training, conservatories, competitions, stages. Alexander glanced briefly toward the piano before answering. "I studied at the Vienna Conservatory," he admitted. Gasps rippled through the nearby guests. Elena blinked in disbelief. Then why on earth are you pushing a cleaning cart in my building? For the first time, Alexander hesitated, because 3 years ago, he said quietly, I lost everything: my career, my reputation, and the person I loved. The words carried a weight that silenced the room again. Elena felt an unfamiliar twist in her chest. She had built her empire by solving problems, uncovering truths, controlling outcomes. But Alexander's story wasn't something she could analyze like a balance sheet. And tonight, she asked gently, why play? Alexander looked directly into her eyes. Because you reminded me of something I thought I'd buried, he said. The courage to sit at a piano again. Elena inhaled slowly, absorbing his words. The powerful CEO, who negotiated billion-dollar deals without blinking, suddenly looked almost shy. You know, she said after a moment, a faint smile touching her lips, I did say I might marry whoever moved me with Chopin. The guest leaned in, waiting for a punchline, but Alexander surprised everyone again. He chuckled softly and shook his head. Miss Whitmore, you don't want to marry a janitor. Elena tilted her hat thoughtfully. Maybe not, she replied, but I might want to know the man who made a room full of billionaires forget how to breathe. For the first time that night, genuine laughter broke the tension. Yet beneath it, something deeper had begun forming, an unexpected connection neither of them had planned. As the party slowly resumed, Elena found herself standing beside the piano, watching Alexander walk back toward his cleaning cart. And for a woman who owned half the skyline, the most valuable thing in the room, suddenly felt like the quiet man leaving it. What she didn't realize yet was that Alexander Hill wasn't just a fallen pianist rebuilding his life. The truth behind his disappearance from the music world was a secret powerful enough to shake even her empire, and the night she jokingly promised marriage for a Chopin melody was only the beginning of a love story neither of them saw coming.